It's now autumn here in Tasmania, and for me that means it's firewood time. Late summer, early autumn is when I like to get in and get my firewood ready. Now, it's not the firewood that I'm going to burn this winter, but the firewood that I'll actually burn next winter. I like to give it some time after splitting to dry out completely. Now, in the past, I've always split that wood by hand using just a blockbuster, and I find that really fast. Of course, it's really good exercise, but each year as I get a little bit older, I look forward to it less and less and start thinking about, is there a way I can do this mechanically? Now, I've always looked at hydraulic wood splitters, which are the dominant wood splitters in Australia, and to me they look so slow. There's a few that are faster, double acting ones as an example, but compared to what you can do by hand, how quickly you can split it by hand, they are slow. But recently I came across Kinetic wood splitters, and I thought that's the sort of speed I would like. So I decided to have a go. I jumped in and I bought one, for better or worse. Now, there's only 2 makes of Kinetic wood splitter available here in Australia. Both of them are made in China, nothing locally made at all, and I can't seem to find anything that's made in the US or elsewhere. So out of the 2, I chose this one, which is a black diamond 30-ton Kinetic log splitter. Now, I was somewhat hesitant about this because there is just this one company selling these on eBay, and while they claim they have some parts available, their warranty is very short and there's no really local support. I'd have to go back to that company for parts, which some of them they may have to order from China. Also, exactly the same machine is sold in the United States, or what looks to be exactly the same machine, under the name of Black Diamond, and it's marketed there as a 20-ton splitter. That makes me a little bit more nervous. What really is the truth? Is it a 20? Is it a 30? But machines of exactly the same appearance are also sold elsewhere in the world. So I decided to have a go. What I'm going to do today is try and get this off the trailer and open it up, have a look what I've got and see what assembly is necessary, and we'll see if we can film that process, see if we can get it operating. Now, it's on the trailer because I opted to pick it up from the depot, which saved me a few $100s in delivery costs. But to get it off is a bit tricky because I can't come in with the forks easily, so I need to slide it back. Now, thankfully, this trailer is a tipping trailer, so that may help me get this off. Now, I think it's just a matter of getting this carton section off the top and seeing what's underneath. Right, this is what we've got. There is a fair bit of assembly required in here by the look of it, because the cover's not on it. That means we've got a chance to have a look at what's in here. Straight away we could see the flywheel. Now, this is a single flywheel design. It comes using a dog clutch rather than the just straight rack and pinion engagement that most of them use. The belts need to be engaged, and yes, there is a motor back there underneath. The wheels have to be put on. Down here, looks like the axles, that's the base. And an operations manual, parts. Don't know what that's for, I guess we'll find out. Bolts. Okay, so since there's a fair bit of work here in putting it together, I'm going to get the tractor now with the forks and put it inside the shed where I can progressively unpack it, and if I don't get it all done in the one day, it doesn't really matter. Time to start unpacking and loosening all this. getting things out, seeing what we've got. Already two options that I have available to me, the tractor and the tipping trailer, have made this process much easier than it would otherwise be. If I didn't have that, I guess I'd be building it actually on the, or unpacking it on the trailer, maybe building it on the trailer. So that looks like a tow arm, and yes, interesting. I'll be interested to know what that one's for. This is obviously hubcaps, control levers, operator's manual, assembly manual. So, put those aside. Feels like lots of nuts or bolts in there. Yes, nuts and bolts. Lots of them to do up by the look of that. Okay, so what's this? It's a plastic cover, goes over the flywheel, and operating instructions, warnings, cautions, all that material on it. Aha, here's a good one. Advertising material in the box. Not that I'll be needing that. Some heavy plates there. I'd say this is the plates that your log slides on. Not sure about that one. The stand. Now, this is one thing that made me choose this unit over the other company that's selling them in Australia. That's that this material looks a lot heavier built. It's pretty solid, whereas the other one looked to be a little bit light and flimsy. And yes, that is certainly a weighty piece of metal. The other thing that made me choose this was that it boasts a Briggs & Stratton engine. Okay, we've got two wheels, decent sized wheels. Okay, so this looks like one side of the work table. Good solid metal and going to stand up to a fair bit of work. This is the second side. A little plate, not sure what that one's for. One thing I noticed is that the engine here is not mounted. I have to mount that onto the main base. I thought that may have been pre-assembled, but it's not. This one is the axle. And again, very solid, strong looking material here. An engine. Now, it's a 3.5 horsepower. One of the positives of Kinetic wood splitters is that they use much smaller motors. An oil can. Yeah, I needed a new oil can. Does it work? Yep, it does. It squirts out oil. Okay, I'm now down to the main part of it, the actual beam, the really heavy parts now, and I don't think I'm going to get that out without pulling this crate apart. There's a lot of weight in this flywheel. It's really, really heavy. Engage, forward it goes. Spring pulls it back. So I now have quite an array of parts to assemble, plus this still in the box. Now, as always, worth referring to the assembly instructions, suggesting wheels on first, front support leg to the beam, rear wheels, and an engine coming across, putting the table on, connecting the tow bar. Looks reasonably simple, but I'm sure there's some little catches in the whole process. I will follow the instructions, start with putting these wheels on. The bearings have plastic covers over them to keep the moisture and dirt out while they're shipping. How easy is it going to slide on? Yep, that one's in. They have reasonable, sufficient grease, considering this is not going to be a highway item. I had to stop recording yesterday because my battery on the camera and mic was running flat. So I've come back this morning, it's much brighter. Now I'm lifting it out of the crate using the tractor because it is very heavy. It would take at least 2 people to lift it. You could pull the crate apart and probably get one end up at a time to bolt it on, but instructions advise lifting equipment and it certainly makes it a lot easier. So now that I've got it up here, I first need to attach this front end here and then the wheels. Now I've separated out a lot of the bolts here. This is a fairly simple 4-bolt system. If they will actually go through the holes. If I got the right bolt, that one's right. This one's a bit tight. Okay, so that one's a bit tight. Little clear out with the drill. It's all paint that's causing the problem, and they go through okay. Everything has nylock nuts, so it should work pretty well in terms of holding under vibration, which of course it's going to get a fair bit of. Okay, with that end in place, it's time to hook this up. Now, it uses 4 rubber cushions in between. Just sit in there nicely. 4 50mm bolts and the large washers. Just a matter of getting that to position correctly. Right, that's looking good. Now that it's on its own 2 wheels, it's time to put the engine into place. Now, I believe that should just slip in, yeah. Uses these 2 items, which is a square nut and a position bolt, to hold it in place. So, an issue here is that you would need to remove this in order to drain the oil and change the oil. Part of fitting the engine is fitting the V-belts. fingers in doing that though. Right, they're on. And then it can be tightened up. The next stage here is to attach the work table, and it looks like it's mounting on to there. Is that the next thing that goes on? Looks like there's something missing that I would think goes on first. Yes. These plates come in as part of that, going into there, because that's where your log sits. So screwing into here, not that difficult. Just a little bit of a bad alignment. So I think I'll get them all started and then tighten it all up after. Back after a little interruption here, I had to get some Allen keys, and a few other things happened in the meantime, as life does. The Allen keys are both lots here are different sizes, just to make life more interesting. Right, that side's all tight. And on this side, still have the problem that these do not go through. So I'm going to just draw it out. And they go through. Next thing to go on is the tow bar. Whether I'll actually use that, I'm not sure, but I'll put it on for now and we'll see how it goes. As I expect to move this by hand, something that actually has a better handle might be more desirable, but something maybe to build at another time. Now, part of this I took off solely for the purpose of actually lifting it so I didn't damage anything. This side arrived with this damage already on it. Not a big concern to me, but could be to some people. There we go. There's two underneath here that have little collars that go in, so going through here, I see it just holds it off a bit so it doesn't push up tight. Now to put this on, you have to remove, it looks like that the top of this in some way. So I'm just wondering how that works. There it is. Wrong angle. Yeah, so this is the safety handle. Basically means that you need two hands to operate it. Now, can you modify it so that you don't need this? Yes, you could, but you do that at your own risk. This has been put on for your safety. We'll see how it works. Okay, I believe it's fully assembled. In the manual it said assembly should take about 45 minutes. Well, it took me a lot longer than that, and I think if you did these all the time you might do it with 45 minutes and had all the tools ready that you need, maybe some power wrenches, but not everything went to plan. There was a few bolts that didn't quite line up that had to be drilled out, a little bit of paint in the road of some, and just lining things up when you don't know them takes a little bit of time. The motor had some oil in it. I have topped it up. I put some fuel in, so I'm ready to see if this thing goes. Turns over. That's operation. It works. Well, it works without anything. Now we need a little bit of firewood in there to see if it actually splits. The oil can, I believe, is to spray a little bit of oil, not a lot, onto this bar so that it's a little bit greasy, but you wouldn't want much on here because if you had too much you're going to get a bit yucky. So I've gone and cut 4 rounds of the type of thing that I actually split. It's dry timber, it has some open splits in it, it's going to break pretty easy. So I've got to start it up and run these through and see how it goes. Okay, conclusions. It was nice and quick, and yeah, I might be able to split that as fast by hand, not sure. I couldn't sustain that speed, splitting by hand, for very long. But the one thing I'm seeing is I'd really like more workspace. I'd really like some space here to stack the half splits, and then, yeah, depending what I'm doing, whether I'm probably not putting them into a wheelbarrow, probably just putting them into a pile or a bin or something like that. But more workspace is going to be good, and having somewhere that I can bring the rounds without having to bend over for them. So I think with the tractor I can do that. So I'll build something that I can actually probably come in with the forks and have my rounds here. It'll give me more workspace and allow me to load and create my pile. But I think that's for another video, and I think that's sufficient for this one. We've established that you can put these together and they do function. How it's going to go across time, I've no idea, but in another year's time maybe we'll make another video about it. I hope you enjoyed watching.